What is going on, y'all? Psych Perspectives on. Let me turn this air down so you can hear me. Psych Perspectives, Geo Fucks here. In this video, we're gonna just be discussing, and this kind of goes back to the dysfunctional childhood upbringing, toxic families, dysfunctional families, etc. And this is something that I think a lot of us deal with, and a lot of people who were previously toxic and dysfunctional or made mistakes that were extremely detrimental to those around them, their children, their loved ones, their spouses, their families, their friends, and ultimately their communities, is the aftermath of their actions. Because a lot of times what I'm noticing through just my own healing journey and what I've dealt with my biological, parents and what have you, is also just the simple fact that people rarely, in my opinion, are the people who do bad actually ever really held accountable, and rarely do they take responsibility for what they did, in my opinion. Because what gets me is like in my situation, and when I say this, I want it to be very clear, because I am so tired of us acting like it's black and white. Everything is always polarized into the extreme. And what I mean by that is, when people are venting and expressing how they feel and what they've gone through with people, doesn't necessarily mean that the person that we're talking about is 100% evil and bad. What they did was wrong, but that doesn't mean that the individual that did the wrongdoing is a horrible person either. So when I say this, I just want to say that, right? Like, so again, I love my mom, I love my granny, I love my papa, I love my uncle, I love my family. And at the same time, I'm not going to sit up here and act like everything has been some rose-colored situation, because it hasn't. And to me, what's very manipulative in a lot of these types of family structures is you're basically taught that you're not supposed to talk about things that happen, and or you'll be told, well, that was 10 years ago, that was 20 years ago, that was in your childhood, you're a grown person now, get over it. So a lot of times things are diminished, and you're basically, a lot of us are taught to never express our emotions in the first place, because they're constantly being downplayed. So after a while, nobody is ever really talking about anything. Now we just straight up ignore you, and we don't want to be around you, and or we're very distant. We can only deal with you for a moment of time before we get agitated and you need to go on. And what gets me is the people that do the wrongdoing, granted, they're not 100% evil, bad people. And at the same time, if you are a deadbeat parent, or you was a deadbeat parent, why are you surprised that now that your children are adults, they don't want anything to do with you? Why would they want to be doing anything with you? You weren't there for them. And arguably, you're still not there for them. Let's just be real. So it just is mind-boggling to me how now that a person is an adult, now you want to spend time together, you want to talk, you want to hang out, and it's like you completely forget all of the things that you have done to ruin that relationship. And I think that's the problem in of itself, is that toxic and dysfunctional households, the person that is doing the wrongdoing is never really being held accountable, and they're never actually responsible for anything. And this is why, oh, well, how come you don't want to hang out, or, well, you only come over once a week? And it's like, again, you want to gaslight people and make it seem like we're wrong because we don't want to be around you. When number one, I don't have to be around you. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to call you. I don't have to check in on you. I am an adult. And again, if you want your children and offspring to be there for you when they are adults and you are older, then perhaps you need to be a better person. Hate to break it to you, but a lot of you are horrible and were horrible. You treated your kids like shit, or you acted like they didn't even exist. A lot of these case in point, a lot of these deadbeat parents are the main ones that want to give guilt trips to their adult children for why we're not talking to them and we don't want anything to do with them, and or we're very distant. Because I'm just going to be honest, like my mom, I was raised by my grandparents, you know what I mean? My mom did what she could, right? And that's the whole other piece of, you know, when we say that, on one aspect, I'm healing and moving on, so I'm not holding that grudge against her anymore. And at the same time, I feel like it's very dismissive to say that you did the best you could, because if the best you could is your children needing to be in therapy, that's not the best that you could do, and we need to just be real about that. You know what I'm saying? And this is just another, in my opinion, it's just another way for them not to be responsible for anything. It's always, and again, they show up like a deer in headlights. Oh, how come you don't call? How come you don't text? Well, our relationship. And then a lot of us that dealt with this, we end up being extremely independent to the extreme. You know, we don't know how to ask for help. We don't know how to accept help. We don't know how to speak up about how we're feeling. We don't know how to convey how we're feeling. We don't know how to show emotions. We don't understand our own emotions. Like, I am definitely a loner. Like, I like being by myself to the extreme. And it can come off like, you know, I don't care. And I realize that. And like, I can go weeks at a time with not communicating with certain people, and it doesn't necessarily bother me. Like, I think about them, I care about them, and obviously in the case of my family, I do love them. But again, the trauma is there. That's another problem that I think too people don't talk about is, arguably, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, arguably, people don't really get over trauma. You just learn how to cope. And I'm just going to be honest. Because again, if we got over trauma, we wouldn't still be processing what happened to us 20 years ago today. That's just it. And again, it's like, and then also what gets me about these types of people is you have a track record of doing wrong things. Or being a deadbeat. Like, there's a track record of you not being dependable, you not showing up. And here I am as an adult healing my abandonment wounds that were directly caused by having deadbeats as parents. And so again, and then fast forward, you know, you're an adult, I'm 30, almost 31, and it's like, I honestly don't want to be around you after a certain amount of time. Like, I am starting to realize, like, nope, those are my boundaries. After a few days, you need to go home. I'm not interested in you spending the week. I'm just not. You know, I like my space. I don't want to be bothered. And at this age, I'm learning to not feel bad about feeling this way, and learning how to not feel bad about saying it. Because I'm 30. I needed you 20 years ago when I was 10. You trying to be a parent today is I'm just going to be honest, is rather stupid. Okay? Because now you're not needed, and I've spent my entire life not having you, so now it's just like, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm used to being on my own, and it's funny because I hate to say it, but karma does end up biting people in the ass. Because isn't it odd how the deadbeat parent flees for whatever reason? Because there's always an excuse for the deadbeat. It just amazes the hell out of me how there's always an excuse for deadbeat parents. But yet, when their children are adults, these are the very same deadbeat parents who then want to try to be buddy-buddy with their kids now that they're adults. And it's just kind of like, what? And it's just so backwards. It's just so backwards. And then in my